I wanted to start with this one today because this is what the show is titled after, and I think that this is going to kind of pour out through the whole show today. So it's a longer video. It's 5 minutes long, but it's very much worth watching and listening to because I feel like this guy's sentiment right now is very reflective of how many people are in the world. So let's listen to this. It's a great video. Like I said, maybe I'll speed it up a bit. He talks pretty fast as it is, but we got shit to get through here today. So let's watch this. It should take about 4 minutes now that I sped it up. But let's see what this fella has to say.
Have you guys seen the rest of the world? What it looks like? Not in America. Not America. The rest of the world. We are the wealthiest nation, right? We have the most money. Excuse me, my dogs are fighting. Love each other. Dubai. China. Moscow. Before our military-industrial complex finishes the job. Tokyo. Singapore. That's freaking cool. You ever seen one of these? Well, if you're from America, you probably haven't, unless you're on the internet. It's a bullet train. When's the last time you got on one of those? Every year, apparently, America makes 4.44 trillion with a T dollars, which sounds made up, but I'm going with it. But at least they take all that revenue and they do that math. I'm not good at it. And they help us, right? Hawaii burns down. What do? We give 10 times the amount of the money needed to rebuild every single home and build them better that burned down in Hawaii to Ukraine. Oh, thank goodness. Hurricane Helena happens, a once in a lifetime, which is probably the 5th or 6th once in a lifetime storm, hits Tennessee. Emergency services are cut off completely from residents. There's another picture. I think it's the same place. Almost every bridge is collapsed. It's washed away. Stranding. Everyone. Hospitals are underwater. And I live in this part of Tennessee, just barely outside the purple, just right here. So it's only a little tiny bit of Tennessee. So it doesn't matter, right? Thank goodness we have the Army National Guard. I was in the Army National Guard in Arkansas. And we use them for times just like this because we fund them for times just like this, right? Fuck you, bitch. They're going to Kuwait because they need more help than us right now. Yeah. But this is all just the price we have to pay for freedom. How fucking free do you guys feel? And the vast majority of us think if we're on this team, then this team is the enemy. And if we're on this team, then this team is the enemy. And it's like I'm the only one that realizes it's professional wrestling. It's professional wrestling. It's not real. Those teams don't exist. Those teams are made and constructed. You against them. You're the good one. They're the bad one. You're a fucking idiot. And Americans are the most laid back, apathetic people on earth. If it doesn't directly affect us, we just, whatever. Until enough of us are mildly inconvenienced enough to go out into the streets and protest and we're so angry. And the elite watch from their ivory towers and go, that's adorable. That's so cute. They think they're going to change something. We are the most propagandized country on the face of the planet. You think it's North Korea? You think it's China? You think fill in the blank. It's us. We are fed the most nonsense and we slap it up. Oh, we love it. The vast majority of you think this. You really believe that your vote will be counted and it matters. You actually think that, don't you? It doesn't matter who lives here. It doesn't matter. This guy was in charge. We all know what he did. Then this guy, and we all know what he did. Then came him as a big old fuck you to this fucking lizard person. Then this gentleman got in there and somehow he got 3 times the amount of votes that this guy got, which is strange. That's for a different video. And they all stayed here. And whoever's staying here, they all have one simple thing in common. Their bosses, the banks, that is who runs this show. That is the real enemy. It's possible that I'm just in a mood because of this hurricane and maybe I need to take a Midol. I don't know. I haven't showered in 4 days because we still don't have water. We have power, which is great. Can't shower with electricity unless you take a live, laugh, toaster bath, but that's not recommended. I have an abscessed tooth and none of the dentist offices are open because they don't have water. And the closest one would take 5 to 6 hours, maybe, if I'm even able to get there. So I'm a little bit grouchy right now. So I don't want to be a party pooper or nothing, but this fucking sucks. All I'm saying is this is broken and we need to fix it. Like, let's fix it.
Pretty Pretty powerful stuff there, I would say. Again, I think that that's how most people are feeling right now. And that's why I titled the show today, We Are So Damn Close. Because everything that he's saying there, I disagreed with a couple. I think that in terms of like the voting, I mean, I say it all the time on the show. I think that voting is the adult version of writing a letter to Santa Claus. But, and I see his point. He looked at George Bush, who was a Republican. He looked at Obama, who was the most popular president of all time. But then he went to Trump and he didn't really have anything bad to say against him. And again, you can like Trump, you cannot like Trump, but you cannot deny his actions. You cannot deny what he did for America when he was in there for 4 years compared to how it is now. You cannot deny that. So he didn't have anything bad to say against Trump. And that's kind of what I was thinking. I was waiting for what he was going to say about that. So I do agree. It's always been a uniparty where if you're voting red or blue, it didn't really matter too much. I think we're a little bit different now. And I think that Trump was the wrench thrown into this whole thing, that Hillary was supposed to win. She was supposed to win that election. And I think that if she would have won that election, we would all be in much different circumstances, much far worse circumstances than we are today. So I don't necessarily agree with that part of it. But the one part that he's missing there, and why I wanted to highlight this and title the show after it today, is because he's exactly right with everything that he said there. He's absolutely right. And there's a lot of people who are at that exact stage right now who are seeing their worlds just completely be upended by the banks. He even said it there. I think that if you watched that video a year ago or 6 months ago, they wouldn't. And when I say they, I mean like the general population of people. They wouldn't have gotten to the point of seeing that it's the banks. That's the problem here. But he's there. He's realized that it's the banks, but it's not even the banks. It's their bosses. It's the Federal Reserve. It's the central banks. That's the problem. And when you go to that next level and you see, okay, if that's the problem, it's the centralized banks, centralized system, the giving a small group of people the ability to print money. That's what's creating all this. And then you find the antidote to that, which is Bitcoin. And so I do think that even though not everybody's caught on yet, which to us is good, I think, in a selfish way, it's a lot of opportunity for us because, again, everybody is starting to figure that out. And once they get past the banks to the central banks and realize that Bitcoin is the counter to the central banks, that's how change happens. He didn't really provide much of a solution there at all. He just said, we need to fix it. It's broken. There's a solution. It's called Bitcoin. And going back to like the politicians and stuff and Trump versus Kamala, although I don't think it's going to matter like long term who wins, it definitely matters right now. Because if Kamala wins, if Kamala happens to win, she can do a lot of things. She can make Bitcoiners' life living hell for the next 4 years and beyond. I think if they win this election, we're going in a completely different direction than we otherwise would have. And I know that there's probably going to be people in the chat saying Trump's not going to fix anything. I disagree. I think if you have the option between somebody who hates you, hates Bitcoin, hates freedom, is a known Marxist, communist, very bad policies which have destroyed the best nation on earth. That's one person there. And then you have somebody who's Bitcoin friendly, who wants the best for their country, who wants people to be sovereign. It's not even a comparison. So yes, I do agree that for the majority of history, it has been a uniparty where it didn't really matter who you vote for. You were getting the same policies. I think that it is a different point right now. I think we're at the inflection point where if she wins, we're in a lot of trouble for a while. And if he wins, he's not going to save everybody, but he's at least going to make it easier. And he's not going to stomp on you when you're trying to better yourself and better your communities. So there is a big difference there. But the point there is that most people are so close to realizing what the problem is here. We went from each other to the government to the banks. Next one is the central banks. And then people realizing that, wait a second, Bitcoin was designed to separate money from the central banks. That's literally what it was designed to do. And there's a whole bunch of hoopla in the news, in the mainstream, saying Bitcoin's this, Bitcoin's that. Bitcoin is designed to separate money from the state. Whatever it becomes is up to us. but that's what it was designed to do. All right, boom me. Let's address this, because I feel like there's a lot of people out there who really feel this way. Trump locked down the US and wore masks, not to be trusted. Okay, so you have to understand where Trump was in this whole thing. And we're going to watch a video in the second part of the show talking about the pandemic, talking about the real reason behind the pandemic and how it impacts what we're seeing right now, how it impacts the money and how it impacts Bitcoin. But I'll just say this for now, is that Trump didn't have a choice. There's much more powerful forces at work, and he knew that they had the vaccine. They were pretending like they were trying to get this thing ready to go, that hopefully it would be ready in a couple of years. Hopefully when the vaccine comes out, people can come back out of their houses, businesses can open back up. Hopefully in 4 years from now, we'll have this vaccine that can cure everything. Trump knew that it was there. And so what he did, that's why it was called Operation Warp Speed, is because he just rolled it out faster. He didn't make us go through the 4 years of us in our homes wearing masks, pretending that this whole thing was real, waiting for this magical vaccine to come out in 4 years. Understand that if he didn't do that, everybody would have been locked down for 4 years. And could you imagine how different your life would be? I mean, most people here, I'm sure you would admit or agree that your life changed after those lockdowns. And especially if you said no to certain things. Imagine 4 years of that though. So that's one aspect of it. The second one is that he never said that anybody has to get it. He never wanted mandates. He never tried to force anybody to get it. And he also provided other alternatives for it, which he was called an insane person for, like HCQ, like the one that starts with an I, that is literally a miracle drug that they were trying to ban, or they did ban. He was talking about these different alternatives the whole time. He didn't say this is the vaccine. If you don't get it, you can't go to work. It's the only option. He said, no, people should be able to they should be free to make a choice. And here are the alternatives to that. Go back and watch it. Go back and watch his news, his press conferences. So I get it. I mean, it's very easy to forget everything that happened, every step along the way, and how everything transpired, and just look back and say, oh, well, Trump was in power when the vaccines came out, so he's the bad guy here. No, you have to look at everything that was happening then, what he was talking about, whether he was mandating it or not, what he was fighting for, what he was advising. You can't just go off a generalization of he was in charge, so he had all the power to say what was going to happen there. So anyways, that's enough about that, because I know that people with Trump derangement syndrome have a very hard time snapping out of that. So I don't really need to waste any more time with that. But you just have to look at it objectively and look at the other facts that surround it instead of just being so narrow-minded in that way.